order. Roll call, please.
Mr. Song,
Here.
T. Williams,
Here.
Sally,
Here.
McKinney, Smith,
Here.
Bernard,
Here.
K. Williams.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Being a retired military, I just feel I got to do that. All right, you've all received the minutes from our July the 9th, 2024 meeting. Is there any additions or corrections for those minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to approve the minutes of July the 9th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. First item on tonight's agenda is a significant development permit, SD 2404. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Planning Commission. Ben Rhodes, Senior Planner. Before you, you're looking at a significant development permit for Bar and Shield Development. This is at the 3500 block of East Kenwood Street, and the proposal is to approve 102-unit multifamily townhome development on 2 different lots within the Spring Hills addition. And here is the layout. As a reminder, this is oriented to the side, so north arrow being to the left, and then you have Kenwood Street on the right side of the image there. The proposal adds townhomes following the guidelines of the previously approved PD zone for this area. The units are accessible off of an extension of Timothy Street, which I'll point out right here. And the detention basin is shown to be at the bottom, which would be on the west side of the property, right there. This area is also where there are some high voltage overhead power transmission lines. Dumpsters are located along the west side drive that connects the different units together. This is just to show you a little bit a closer view of what these look like with the scale. The previous image was a little hard to kind of make out the details. So what you're looking at is one of the units that comes off of Timothy Street. Each unit will, or each building, I should say, will have units with 1-car garages and ground level entry with a secondary parking space next to the driveway. And each unit has 2 parking spaces designated meeting the minimum code requirements. This slide here is the landscape plan, again with the north being to the left. As you recall, this was the missing plan that triggered the request to table this from the last month's Planning Commission. So now we do have that plan available with all the required plantings, trees along the perimeters, as well as correct buffering for the property. And that would include screening between the multifamily. So this is the townhome that you're approving today, and then the single family here, which was the separate Spring Hills subdivision that you guys looked at, I believe, a couple months back. Now that has since been approved by the City Board of Directors. So here is just a photo example provided by the developer of what the PD, this was actually from the PD narrative of what the units would look like. One thing to note is that the space to the left of the garages will have additional parking in there. So this particular one that they used as photo example doesn't have the second parking space. So there will be 2 parking spaces there. So here is the elevation view As you can see, it looks very similar to what they were showing them to look like. Yeah, this would be part of the construction plan set when approved. And then here we have the site as it appears today. Of course, all this, the existing drainage in there will be mucked out, and that will all be channeled into the new detention basin and whatnot to make that function correctly. Staff is recommending approval with the stated 4 conditions as shown in the staff report, and we stand ready for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this development? Okay, commissioners, you got questions, comments, thoughts?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
Ben, I know these, we're calling these townhouses, looking at the layout of the significant development, are these going to have green space in front of them? Looking at those pictures, it looks like there's some green space. Here, it looks more like an apartment with just parking spaces on a lot of asphalt and no green space. Looking at this, they feel more like just a bunch of apartments rather than townhouses. And are they individually owned, or is this just one property owned by a person?
I'm not familiar with what they're intending to do with the ownership. My belief is that they were going to be leased out. So they're what I would call townhome styled apartments, where essentially they function like a multifamily development or apartment complex, but would all have ground level entry and all would have their individual garages, which you wouldn't normally see in an apartment complex. I do believe that there will be a little green space strip. It's not just solid parking all the way across. Do you want to add on to that? Because Megan did the landscape review, so.
Yeah, so I did the landscape review. They met all the interior parking lot green space requirements, and they are providing all the required trees along the boundaries. One of the big things was that west boundary. They're providing 27 trees, I believe, along that west boundary there. So they're meeting all the landscaping requirements for the development.
Meeting the requirements is not the same as saying there's any green space in front of the apartments. Hello, sir.
If it pleases the
Name and
chairman.
address, please.
It's Ron Homeyer, Civil Engineering, 701 South Mount Olive, and I'll answer that question for you. There is a small green space in front of each one of the units. Because of the required parking, there's just no way to have a full 18-foot or 20-foot
Right.
deep green space, but there is a green space next to the doorway in front of each of the units.
You know how large that is, Ron?
Oh, I was afraid you'd ask me that. I don't know that off the top of my head. They're about 5 or 6 foot from the building out, and then however wide across about half of a parking space. Enough for some shrubs and landscape, some similar type. We didn't get into the design in front of each of the units because that wasn't required by the city.
Right.
Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question for Ron. So it's a one-car garage, but it's going to have a driveway wide enough for 2 cars or long enough for 2 cars? I didn't quite catch that.
There is a 9 by 18 space in front of the garage door, as well as a 9 by 18 space next to the, well, actually, they're 10-foot wide parking spaces because the units are 20-foot wide.
Thank you.
Sorry. Anyone else?
Are there any other questions of the commissioners? Thank you, Ron. Okay, hearing no other questions or no other comments, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve SD 24-04 significant development permit, subject to the listed conditions.
I have a motion to approve SD 2404, subject to the listed condition. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Song,
Yes.
Mr. T. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Sally,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Renard,
Yes.
Mr. K. Williams,
Yes.
Motion is, it is approved. This will go before the Board of Directors on September the 3rd, 2024. Next item on the agenda is Significant Development Permit SD 24-06. Ms. Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Megan Thomas, Planner 1. This is a significant development request located at the 2200 block of Highway 16. This property is located directly behind the Dayspring Warehouse facility. The applicant is requesting to construct a 33,630 square foot cabinet warehouse facility situated on 6.10 acres. This is the site plan for the proposal. As you can see, the lot does have a flagpole access onto Highway 16. Due to this flagpole shape of the lot, the proposed driveway was not able to meet the spacing requirements from the property boundaries. However, per code section 102-78B1, driveway intersections which cannot meet the spacing standards shall be located where most nearly consistent with the spacing requirements, which is what the applicant is proposing here. The warehouse structure is proposed to be situated in the center of the lot and has adequate parking provided. To the north of the proposed warehouse structure is the proposed detention pond for the development. And this is the landscape plan for the development. They are providing sufficient landscaping all throughout the development, with landscaping shown along the axis as well as the property boundaries. The applicant is providing an increased landscape buffer as well as an opaque vegetative screen along the southern boundary of the site to accommodate for the existing residential uses to the south of the property. It should be noted that there is an existing berm to the south of the property as well, which will enhance that buffer between the two different uses. A note has been added to the civil plan set stating that all trees provided along the southern boundary shall be opaque, meeting codified requirements at the time of planting in order to ensure adequate screening is provided between those different uses. This is the architectural rendering, so this is what the warehouse facility will look like. Again, this is right behind the existing Dayspring warehouse facility, so this fits in with that neighborhood. And this is the overall site view of the property. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and staff is recommending approval with 3 conditions as stated in the staff report. Staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Megan. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address this development? Seeing no one, commissioners, do you have questions, concerns, or comments about this development? Hearing and seeing nothing from the commissioners, I will entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve SD 24-06, subject to listed conditions.
I have a motion to approve 2406, subject to the listed conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Song,
Yes.
Mr. T. Williams,
Yes.
Mr. Sully,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Renard,
Yes.
Mr. K. Williams,
Yes.
The motion is approved. This will go before the Board of Directors on September the 3rd, 2024. Next item on our agenda is the final plat development permit, FPC 24-04. Mr. Ben Rhodes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we are looking now at a final plat development permit, and this is at the 2270 Don Hill Road. And what the final plat is for, excuse me, my notes went dead for a second. I'm on a tablet, so. The final plat is for Phase 4 of the Heritage Ranch addition. This is consisting of 33 single-family lots on 9.9 acres. And it is a final plat change permit, and that's what the FPC stands for, because they are changing something from what was in the approved preliminary plat, which I'll go over in a second. Here you see the layout. This is more or less pretty much what was presented before. We have the two connections. This is going down to Autumn Glen, and then the connection to the earlier phase of Heritage Ranch to the left there, detentions and two different spots at the southern end of Cattleman Lane. One thing to note here is the two lots here that I have highlighted in the red, lots 32 and 33. They are increasing in size very slightly. What happened is the developer has purchased a strip of land that was to the north here. I'll hopefully draw that in. That is actually under an annexation review right now as well. So he has acquired that since the time of the preliminary plat. So they are wanting to incorporate that land into these lots, thus making them slightly larger, which is a change. The change that we definitely would support, because this is keeping the lots to be consistent along that entire section of street there. And then here we have the proposals in terms of the just the site layout. This aerial was taken earlier this spring when the project was just starting under construction, so this is not a current picture by any means. Staff is recommending with the conditions as stated in the staff report, and we're available for any of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to address this development? Being no one, commissioners, do you have questions, concerns about this? You guys are easy tonight. Hearing no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve FPC 24-04
With stated
with restrictions as stated.
I have a motion to approve FPC 2404 with the recommended restrictions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Song?
Yes.
Mr. T. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Sally?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Renard?
Yes.
Mr. K. Williams?
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the before the board on September the 3rd, 2024. Next item on our agenda is final plat development permit, FPC 2405. Ms. Megan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a final plat request for property located at 3861 Highway 412 East. The applicant is requesting to final plat Phase 1 of the Siloam Station Retail Edition, consisting of 4 commercial lots situated on 6.4 acres. The preliminary plat for this request was approved earlier this year. This is the proposed final plat for Phase 1 of the addition. The applicant has made changes to the proposed lot areas since the previous preliminary plat approval. As stated in the staff report, they have increased the lot areas for lots 2 and 3 of the subdivision and decreased the lot area for lot 4. They're also now proposing phasing. As you can see, they have a note up here that's kind of in faint gray that says future Phase 2. So that northern portion of the property will be a future Phase 2, and they're strictly doing the south right now. This is the overall site view of the property. Again, this is Phase 1 only for the southern portion, and that's what that yellow line is indicative of. Staff has not received any calls or correspondence on this request, and staff is recommending approval with 4 conditions needed as shown in your staff report, and staff is available for any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Okay, is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward and address this development? Please come up, state your name and address.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. My name is Steve Harriman. I'm an officer with the Burke Collins Company as well as R.W. Everly Development Company. Our address is 500 Grapevine Highway in Hurst, Texas, 76054. We have been working on the Phase 1 final plat and for a couple of months now. The staff has requested a few alterations, and we have met those modifications that they requested. For that reason, I respectfully ask that you approve our final plat application this evening for Phase 1.
Thank you, sir.
And if you have any questions, I'll attempt to answer.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to address this development permit? Okay, commissioners, you got questions, concerns? Wow, we really are easy tonight. Okay, having no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve preliminary, oh, am I on the wrong one?
Final plan.
Sorry. FPC 2405 with staff conditions.
I have a motion to approve FPC 24-05 with stated conditions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
Solly,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Renard,
Yes.
K. Williams.
Yes.
Motion is approved. This will go before the board on September the 3rd, 2024. Next item up is Planning Commission Subcommittee. Chris, Mr. Paxton, your turn. Doesn't get you, doesn't it?
You have to excuse me, I've had that jacket on all day. So, if I can get IT, I'm going to put the PDRC presentation back up. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an item that is coming forward to the Board of Directors as a resolution. However, this is a Planning Commission item. City Municipal Code, City Municipal Code Section 7835, committees established by the Planning Commission may create such committees as it deems advisable and assign to each committee specific duties or functions. However, and in this case, this is going to also, if this item moves forward, it will establish the Plan Development Review Committee of the Planning Commission. So this is a request that will be forwarded from this board, and what we're looking for tonight is a motion from the board to forward this to the Board of Directors with a recommendation. So what is the purpose of this? So to start with, this will authorize a Plan Development Review Committee, a PDRC, to preview applications submitted by applicants to verify they meet the intent of the PD zoning district prior to the Planning Commission meeting. This provides review criteria set by the Board of Directors for additional review applications to Plan Development, or the PD. This will clearly define what qualifies and what disqualifies an application, and what actions the PDRC can and cannot take upon the application. The committee is not reviewing a rezone request. Instead, they are previewing the application that is submitted for a rezone request. Recently, the board has commented that they want additional eyes on these types of projects and other projects. So this is somewhat of a byproduct of that. On the left, you'll see I've put a little red square, and I'm going to kind of break down this resolution that would be going to the board. To start with, plan development is intended to provide for coordinated development of mixed uses of land on a suggested minimum of 1 acre, which uses are mutually compatible and can benefit from close proximity, and to provide flexible zoning standards for beneficial developments having special design requirements, particularly suited for pocket neighborhoods or mixed-use master plan communities. And that's taken out of our ordinance. You may note that this is a resolution that's going to the board. It's not an ordinance amendment. Everything that is within these requirements already exists within code. This just clarifies some of that, some of the criteria and the intent from the board, and would authorize the Planning Commission subcommittee to have further authority. Moving forward, clarification of the requirements by the board of directors, intent within the code will assist in making recommendations. Those additional eyes on the application to request a rezone to plan development is ideal to ensure that the intent of the district is being met rather than as a method to bypass traditional zoning requirements. If we break down section 1, we can just boil that down to it simply establishes the PDRC subcommittee, its membership, and its operations. We move into it, and to section 2, it establishes the criteria that the board provides to the PDRC. This begins with an established review process. The intent is for this to be a conversation between the applicant and the PDRC members. So this would be a discussion at this meeting between the applicant for the rezoning request and the members of the subcommittee. So first, the application must first qualify as a valid application through set qualifiers. Meeting any qualifier would qualify the application for consideration. These qualifiers are 1, coordinated development of mixed use of land, 2, pocket neighborhoods or mixed use master planned communities, or 3, flexible standards needed to meet special design requirements caused by undue hardships. And I would mention in that, we presented this earlier to the board at their pre-agenda session, and one of the things that did come up about this is a little bit of an explanation, what is an undue hardship? So what we're talking about is hardship on a developer from things such as topography, flood hazard areas, or other site-specific hardships. Section 2 also includes a list of disqualifiers, which would remove the application from consideration. These include 1, requests that are only to maximize land use for typical subdivision development. 2, provide a route for the applicant to avoid variances and waivers. And I'll pause there to explain. If a project could be achieved through a typical zoning and sending that variance to the Board of Adjustments, then that's the proper route. If the PED is being used as a means to bypass that, then that is not the correct route for the project to take. 3, assist developers with financial considerations. 4, maximizes profitability within a development. Or 5, allow uses that are not mutually compatible with adjacent and proposed uses. Those are disqualifiers. Section 2 also includes PDRC considerations. The PDRC would be authorized by the Board of Directors to consider the following. 1, if the subdivision consists completely of residential single-family uses, is there a unique hardship for each of the lots that would otherwise not comply with the most applicable zoning standards? 2, is the project a unique proposal for a pocket neighborhood, cluster neighborhood, or a mixed-use master planned community? 3, are there beneficial elements to the planned development, such as parkland that is usable? This is not including drainage areas, special flood hazard areas, or areas that would not directly benefit the quality of life of residents, that would offset the flexed zoning standards. And 4, if the project is mixed use, is the project mutually compatible with adjacent and the proposed uses? Additional discussion. An application for a rezone itself is a land use determination. So the resolution also limits this PDRC subcommittee from considerations to ensure that it is not a time that the PDRC members discuss design considerations, such as drainage or other criteria that is a part of the construction submittal. The main reason for this is at the time of a rezone application, the drainage report may not have been written. The project has not been designed. It is concept in nature. At the time of the application, project's not been designed by a professional engineer. It would likely be capricious and arbitrary to deny a rezoning based on the design criteria considerations prior to those designs being completed and reviewed. So the resolution would authorize the PDRC to take one of 3 actions. First, they could move the application forward to be heard by this planning commission as a rezoning request. Number two, they could deny the application. And number three, they could table the request. But this isn't a time for a tabling with the purpose of denial. We would not be allowing an indefinite denial, or an indefinite tabling at this point. It would be allowed to be tabled with some criteria. The members must provide changes that would be required. So why is this board tabling the item, and what are the expectations the next time that the subcommittee would hear this item? Two, the members can only table the item one time. And three, the city administrator can override those tables at the request of the city attorney and move the item forward to the planning commission to consider the rezoning. And I will stand for any questions. Staff is looking for a motion to move this item forward to the Board of Directors with a recommendation.
Commissioners, do you have any questions on this resolution?
Mr. Chairman, I just have one question. It said the meetings would be on Tuesday before this meeting, but would they be every month or just when the need arose, as I understood that?
We will have it set as a regular meeting, but we did put an item in there that says staff can cancel it if there's not an agenda item.
Okay, because I know we used to have the zoning that way. The Board of Adjustment used to meet
And,
kind of on an as-needed basis.
Yes, and I do know that we have some changes to the Board of Directors calendars are changing. There is an item in here that states that the city administrator can also change that. So what we would probably do is take the advice of the three members that would be selected for this committee and work with the city administrator to find the best time that would work for everyone.
Thank you.
I have a question. I know that right now, I was briefed that the plan right now is to move the planning and zoning meeting till 6 p.m., and the pre-agenda for the board will start at 4 p.m., where they're currently starting at 3, and I understand they take about 90 minutes for that meeting. My question, why move it a full hour? Why not move it to 3:30, and then we could still go ahead and meet at 5:30? I'd give you 2 full hours on your board of directors pre-agenda meeting.
One of the issues I have directors that have full-time jobs, and it's where I've had pre-agenda meetings, it's been hard to get directors. So again, this time is something I talked to the directors about, and they thought 4 o'clock would be the best. Again, I do presentations sometimes. If I don't do those, depending how long the agenda is, we can usually be done by 5:15, 5:20. You could possibly start your meetings at 5:45. It just takes us a few minutes once they go out to set your meeting. And again, if you want to get here at 5:30, but until I get the room cleared, I would make an effort to end my meetings at 5:20 if I had to do that. Again, I also know you have schedules, and I'm trying to make it good for everyone. One of the big things, the issues that I have so many meetings now. I have staff coming on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and with all the needs of the city, it gets really hard. So I want to try to keep everything as much as possible on Tuesdays, where my staff knows on Tuesdays, don't do anything on that day, because it's going to be a meeting day for us.
I understand. The biggest reason that I had there, and yeah, commissioners, it was a little selfish on JW's part, but I normally eat supper about 5:30, and on Tuesdays, I usually eat about 6:30. So if you're going to move it to 6 o'clock start, I'm not going to be eating my supper before 7:30.
You can eat at 4:30.
That's
It
right.
depends what you're eating, Mr. Smith. I'll go home with you, and I'll make sure it's good. But again, I'm willing to work around. I know it's a big change for you. It just will, for me and the staff and the city, it'll flow so much better. And if that's something, if you want to stay there or give me 10 minutes, I've probably had 25 plus pre-agenda meetings, and I don't think I've gone over not once the hour and a half. I tried to really stay on a timeline. And if I got to cut those back to an hour and 20 minutes, I'm good with that too. It's just Pre-agenda really works well for the staff and myself, because it's a test run for us to make sure we're getting all the information possible.
Gotcha. I understand the need
So,
for it.
you know,
Really do.
that's, you guys, if that'll work for you, we can do it at 5:45, or I will work it out at 5:30. And again, one of the things the staff has told me is, when we have planning commission, they pretty much dedicate that entire day. So I'm trying not to put I'm putting a lot more on their plate also by making these changes. But at the end of the day, I have to try to do what's best for the city and the entire staff. Mr. Kevin?
I'm fine with 6 o'clock. I don't think we need to be doing like 5:45 or just saying, well, when we finish a little earlier, maybe we can start. There's people that come to the meetings that have to be here for the agendas, and we need to keep it standardized, so.
It would have to be standardized. The public notices state the time and place of the meeting.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I mean, I'm good with 6 o'clock. That gives the pre-agenda meeting plenty of time. If for some reason it did run past 5:30, we can still start at 6.
And
I
you know
know
how it is,
JW
Mr.
need to eat, but
Well, no, that was a facetious question, but my basic question is, why move it a full hour when you only need an extra half hour? Why not start your meeting at 3:30 rather than 4? That was my question. But if the commissioners are good with 6, I have no problem with 6. Like I said, I just tossed a little JW's thoughts in there.
We're going to let you
Understood.
eat at 5:30. You can eat fast.
Yeah, now you can eat it. Now you can eat it
In
at
the parking
5:30.
lot.
You just got to eat faster.
Now,
Yeah.
Mr.
Well,
Chair?
this is off the topic of what was our agenda, was talking about that, because we were really getting ready to vote on whether or not
Right.
to forward this resolution.
I understand that, and that's why I was getting ready to ask. Commissioners, do you have any other questions or concerns about this resolution?
And Commissioners, before you go there, and I want staff to be able to answer any questions. This is something we started working on months ago. And one of the things that we're seeing, and you probably see in the Planning Commission, I have builders that are finding ways around how to put more types of buildings on zones. It's a lot of zoning. We're trying to create where I can close up some of them loopholes. This is not, Chris will tell you, this is not the end-all be-all, but this is a start to a process that we're trying to hold people more accountable. Like when they come in here and, it's a PD or an R2, they have 6,000 square feet or whatever that is, that they're building what they're supposed to be building and not finding a loophole and squeezing several items onto that area.
I understand where you're coming from, Alan, I really do, and I understand the need for it. Hopefully it'll catch some of those.
And again, one of my main goals is, and I greatly appreciate you guys finding the time to sit on these boards, but I always want to have you prepared to make the best decisions possible, because I'm very comfortable as the administrator. Once it goes through here, I have a lot of smart people on this board. Once it gets past you, I know you really dotted your I's and crossed your T's, and that's one step for me to go to the next step of the directors. And it helps me too, if in case we miss something. So anyway, Ally.
Anyway, any other questions or concerns on the resolution?
one more thing. This is strictly just the rezoning, taking it from whatever to PD. I know the PD zoning sometimes what their design is could affect the need for the zoning. Like, its purpose was, I think, somewhat maybe retail space with apartments above it, or retail space with housing above it, whatever. When we're just looking at the zoning, I know we're kind of concentrating on houses and that kind of thing. Where does that plan for the site come into play with this committee?
Sure, that's a great question. So that would be considered, whenever you have multiple uses of a property, those are multi-use properties. So those types of proposals would be qualified to go to the committee, and the committee would review those to ensure that it meets the criteria. And then it would likely move forward to the planning commission in the same, approximate same timeline as it currently goes through. So what exactly are we looking at here? Let's say someone proposes what could be a regular single-family residential subdivision, and they have found some drainage ditches that they're not going to get to use anyway, so they're going to call that your parkland dedication. And then they will change the size of as many lots as they can, and then they will submit that as a plan development. So that's what we're seeing being submitted. Plan development, I don't have to explain to anyone on this board, it's a fantastic tool, and it's definitely something that we need. But what we're looking at whenever we're talking about parkland dedication is an improvement of the quality of life. So you can argue and say that, well, the drainage ditches are an improvement of quality of life because it's great for the environment. They're already dedicating that. So if they're already going to be dedicating those with traditional developments, where are we flexing? What is the flexible item? What is that unique hardship that is qualifying these smaller lots that they're requesting? And that's where we need to get closer look. It can be challenging when we have a big agenda and have 5 items, one of them's a plan development, and you have a large agenda packet, to take the time necessary to look at those plan developments and break it down by lot. Say, why is this lot smaller than it should be? Maybe it isn't impacted by one of the unique hardships. There's no site-specific hardship for this lot to be smaller. Why is it smaller? And one of the things that came up in the board's pre-agenda meeting is the discussion of housing in Northwest Arkansas. And I would bring forward that we are looking at a diverse option of housing. So there is a need for small lots. And in the right project proposal, those smaller lots can exist. But through our traditional zoning, we've identified the lots that are standard lots. And when we identify those standard lots and there's no reason for them to deviate from those traditional zoning standards, then what's the purpose? So we also need to not just consider the smallest lots possible. We need a diverse option. We need the larger lots to ensure that we are meeting our housing diversity option. One of the main requests that we get from our office is mid-size houses, mid-size lots. I cannot control what goes on a lot. You can have 10 acres. You can put a little small house right in the middle of it. But whenever you're deviating from zoning standards to achieve those based off of criteria that's not a part of our ordinance, then we need to reach in, have a better view of that, and determine if it's what the City of Siloam Springs Board and Planning Commission are truly wanting. And I think that this subcommittee would allow us that opportunity to take a little bit of a more detailed look, have the applicant present, so you can ask that applicant. It's a conversation. So that's the resolution that'll be on the table.
Thank you for that explanation. Sure. Any other questions of Kevin before we? That being said, I'll entertain a motion. You won't get it.
Motion to recommend
The resolution, yeah.
the resolution? What
What staff is looking for is a motion to forward the item
words
to
I'm
the
looking
planning-
for?
Excuse me.
A motion to recommend approval of the resolution as presented to forward to the board.
I have a motion to approve the resolution as presented and have it forwarded to the Board of Directors. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Renard,
Yes.
K. Williams.
Yes.
Motion is approved, and it will go to the board on August the 20th, 2024. Next item on our agenda is easement acceptance. Ms. Megan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we have 4 plats that we're accepting easements on tonight. This is the first 2. It's a lot line adjustment and a lot consolidation, just dedicating standard perimeter easements as required per these plats. And then these are the second 2, a lot split and a minor subdivision. Again, just standard easement dedications. I'm available for any questions that you'll have.
Any questions on the easements that was presented to you on the right-of-ways? I'll entertain a motion to accept the easements as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I move we accept the easements as presented.
I have a motion to accept the easements as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Song,
Yes.
T. Williams,
Yes.
Sally,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Renard,
Yes.
K. Williams.
Yes.
The board and staff approve permits the commissioners approve the acceptance of the permits. Okay, next item on the agenda is board and staff approved permits. You've got a list of those. Any questions on those permits as was sent to you? Hearing no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? We are adjourned.